Hello all, my name is Teal. I wanted to talk to you all about some of the rules of Yin Yang, the newest addition to the Puzzle Team websites. I wanted to talk about Yin Yang specifically because it has two somewhat hidden rules, in that they have to apply, you'll definitely need them, and they aren't immediately obvious. So, let's go over the rules of Yin Yang, because they are quite simple. It's just 3 rules, and they're very familiar rules. All the black cells have to be connected. You'll see this in things like Litz, Tapa, Nurikabe. It's a very common shading rule. We have all the white cells should be connected. You'll see this in Heiawake, Hitori, things like that. Another common rule. And then 2x2 areas of the same color cannot be, are not allowed. So you'll see this in Nurikabe, Litz, as well as Tapa. Obviously just for the shaded cells, but you could imagine it for the unshaded as well. And that's it. So it seems like a very simple rule set, but it actually turns out to be very complicated because double connectivity is a very, very strong restriction to have on the puzzle. The other thing that I find very beautiful about Yin Yang is that it's symmetric in its rules. There's no property that a black cell has that a white cell doesn't also have. So you could theoretically invert a puzzle and you'd still have a solvable puzzle. So, to show how you'll need extra tools to solve these puzzles, I wanted to start with the easiest theoretical puzzle, right? 6x6 easy. I'm just taking the first one. They're not sorted by difficulty or anything, but just to take a arbitrary one. And if we boot it up, let's think about our rules we have. Immediately, the third rule seems to be the most useful. We want to avoid a 2x2 of white cells, so we can shade these. We want to avoid a 2x2 of black cells, so we can unshade this, or shade it white. And then from here, we kind of run into a problem. We can't apply this third rule directly, and the connectivity rules don't feel strong enough, right? The black cells, they need to connect somehow, but like if we think about this group, it can connect through the top, or it can connect through the left. These can be connected. The white cells don't feel that constrained either, and it may seem difficult to know what to do from here. So, I'll let you know which cells to look at, and then take a moment, pause the video, and try to figure out what those cells have to be. So in this case, the cells are, let me show the coordinates, E2 and E4. So take a moment. Now, if you couldn't figure it out, that is almost expected. These rules are kind of, they're unintuitive in my opinion. I've seen them a lot, so at this point, I kind of just see it, but I wouldn't be surprised if doing Yin Yang for the first time, it doesn't jump out at you. So let's think about what happens if we shade E2 black. It doesn't seem like there's any problems immediately, but let's think about the connectivity rules, right? The black cell in E2 and the black cell in D3 have to be connected. And you can think of this as like drawing a loop, right? Because these are kind of diagonally connected, even if it doesn't count for this rule, it still separates these white cells from being connected. So no matter how you end up connecting these two black cells, it'll draw a loop around one of these two white cells. So it'll either be under like that or over like this. And this will end up cutting the connectivity of these two cells. And if you think about it, it's kind of an abstract, like topological deduction that ends up telling you that this crisscross pattern here is forbidden. You can't have this, because no matter how you connect the black cells, you'll end up separating these two white cells. So, if we think about that as a hidden fourth rule, we can apply it. We can't have a crisscross here, so we get a white cell. We can't have a crisscross here, so we get a white cell. We can apply our third rule here, third rule here. Can't have a crisscross here, so we get a white cell. And then from here, we can just do the first rule. Black shaded cells have to be connected, so go up like that. And then from here, you can see that shading the cell wouldn't help, so we unshade it, and the puzzle's solved. Great. So, armed with this fourth rule, you may be excited to take on more Yin Yang puzzles, but you'll find yourself running into a wall once again. So let's look at another supposedly easy puzzle, right? 10 by 10 easy. I'll just take the first one, and with our 4 rules in mind, let's tackle this. Immediately we get the black shaded cells have to be connected, so I would extend this out like this, and then we seem kind of stuck. And with our 4 rules, it might seem impossible to make progress from here. So once again, we have another hidden rule. And I'm calling these rules, but they're not actually rules, they're just deductions you can make from these rules. But for now, I'll tell you where to look. The cells you want to focus on are just the ones on the border, specifically these 4 cells. Well, those are the only ones on the border. So think about how these work with connectivity. So, the thing to realize is that these black cells have to be connected, right? And you can imagine drawing this path in a bunch of different ways. Like let's say you do this. You may notice that this white cell is now separated. If I go over and around, and I don't know, obviously I'm going to break the 2 by 2 rule, but let's say I do something like this. I've now created a wall between these white cells. It turns out the only way to connect these 2 black cells is to do it through the border, like this. Now, there's another way of looking at this, which is imagine any of the cells on the border were white, like this one. You end up getting this crisscross here, where A9 and J2 have to connect. You can imagine drawing some sort of line, and then A5 and B10 have to connect. And there's no way for you to draw that line that doesn't cross the other line you've drawn. So, sit with that for a minute, because it's a very powerful deduction here. From this deduction, we get that all of these cells are black, because they have to be connected on the edge, and they can't be connected through this white cell. And from here, the puzzle seems very doable. Let's apply our 3rd rule, no 2 by 2s of the same color. Alright, that looks kind of good. Now let's apply our hidden 4th rule of no crisscrosses, so we get something like this. There. And even like here, we get to do it again. You'll notice I'm barely even using connectivity at this point, because it turns out the crisscross rule has connectivity baked into it. Not to say you won't use connectivity, but just doing these, what I would call local rules. So local in the sense of you're only worrying about a 2 by 2. So in this 2 by 2, we know that this is a white cell, we know that this is a white cell. And what's nice about these is it's very easy to look for them, because you only have to look in a small area. Alright, so with these 2 hidden rules in your toolkit, you may be able to find the puzzles on the site a bit more approachable. Now I have been calling them rules, but as I mentioned earlier, this is a bit of a misnomer. These rules are not rules in the sense of they have to be true because I said so. They're rules because they directly follow from the given rules. So some might call these lemmas, in that because these 3 rules are true, the lemmas have to be true, and then you can apply them as so. And I hope you think of it that way, because I don't want you to apply these rules just because I said they were true. I hope you understand why they're true. That way, when you encounter similar deductions in other puzzles, you might be able to find them yourself. So, just as a parting thing, let's pull up a random puzzle, right? Let's do like a 15 by 15 normal. I already have one loaded up here. Whoops, let's start over. Or a new puzzle. And the first place you'd want to look is the edges. Because look, we have 3 cells on the edge, and these black cells have to be connected, and it can't be through here. So we immediately get something like this. And that looks a lot more approachable as far as the puzzle is concerned. So, armed with these tools, I won't say that these puzzles are going to be easy, but they should feel a bit more possible. So I hope you enjoy solving yin yang.